The unprecedented meetup between the two leaders of South Korea and Japan is a major follow-up to plans to compensate Korean victims of Japan's wartime forced labor through donations by Korean firms. Now, what to expect from the summit? For more, we're joined by Professor Kim Jae-chun from Sogang Graduate School of International Studies. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
Good morning. A joint statement on a new partnership between South Korea and Japan is likely to be issued when President Yoon and Prime Minister Yoon-Kishida meet. What do you think will be included?
Well, the most basic things, fundamental things. I think two leaders will declare that Korea and Japan are two very important partner countries to protect and promote what is known as rules-based liberal international order, which revisionist countries are trying to revise to their liking. So two leaders will declare that two countries share core identities as liberal democracy, capitalist market economy. And it's just very natural for two most important democracies in Asia to cooperate in this new Cold War era. And in order for that to happen, two countries will have to move forward from unfortunate history issues. Two countries will have to pursue future-oriented relationship. So that way they can cooperate on security issues as well as economic issues, particularly in the Pacific region. So I think the joint statement will declare the most fundamental and basic reason why two countries will have to come together and move forward to a future-oriented relationship.
Right. Lots of basic fundamental issues to be discussed since we're starting from ground zero. Now, President Yoon has ordered ministries to come up with cooperative projects, specifically focusing on future-oriented Seoul-Tokyo relations. Will these projects, do you think, will help restore bilateral ties? I mean, what steps or projects will Japan need to take on?
Well, for one example, South Korea suggested that two countries will launch what is known as Future Youth Fund, which is to sponsor scholarship for students in both countries and to expedite academic and also cultural exchanges between future generations in both countries. So this is one example of future-oriented projects, I think. And Japan did agree to creation of such fund. Japan's Business Federation, which is known as KDAREN, pledged to make contribution to the fund. So did the Korean 정경련, the Korean Federation of Industries, and also AmCham, American Chamber of Commerce in Korea, pledged that they would participate in donations. So if things go well as planned, this project could work as a symbol for the future-oriented relations between the two countries. But I think one condition should be met, though, and that condition is that Japan really needs to reciprocate South Korea's goodwill gesture that President Yoon Suk-yeol made a couple of weeks ago.
Right. Professor Kim, like you said, maybe it is time to move on, but hopes are low that there'll be a sincere apology from the Japanese side regarding the compensating Korean victims of Japan's wartime forced labor during Yoon's Tokyo visit. Will this remain the elephant in the room? I mean, from going forward, even after compensating the victims? I mean, what needs to be done in order to completely done with the forced labor feud?
Well, I think the compensation solution is still a work in progress. I mean that solution to compensate victims of wartime forced labor is really a work in progress. You know, the Yoon Suk-yeol government did to take great pains to induce Japanese government to apologize, took great pains to induce Japanese companies to pay. These Japanese companies, Nippon Steel Industry, Mitsubishi Industry, they should have contributed to the compensation, but Japan was really persistent. You know, they kept saying that that's not going to happen. So right. The President Yoon really made a very bold move here. Okay, if you don't pay, you don't pay. If you don't apologize, you don't apologize. We'll pay. So let's just move forward. But now the glass is really half full, as South Korea's Foreign Minister Park Jin said during the news conference. Now, as I said, it's really important for Japan to reciprocate. Japan really have to put in good faith efforts here. For one thing, Japanese government officials will have to be very careful, careful about what they say. I mean, if some Japanese government officials say that there wasn't really forced labor, that labor was purely on a voluntary basis. And if some officials say, those kinds of things, make those remarks, and I think that could ruin the whole thing. So Japan really have to reciprocate and then put in good faith efforts here.
Right. Before we let you go, Professor, Yoon and Kishida are having 2 rounds of dinners, right? Why 2 rounds, and what can we expect to be discussed at the second dinner table, especially?
It's quite unusual for 2 leaders to have sort of back-to-back dinner.
Right.
Why 2 rounds of dinner? I read that there is this very famous Japanese traditional restaurant that specializes in tonkatsu, Japanese-style pork cutlets, and omurice, Japanese-style omelette rice. And it is known that President Yoon likes tonkatsu and omurice very much. So that's the reason why Japanese government picked this famous Japanese restaurant as a place for the second dinner. What do I expect them to discuss at the second dinner table? Come on, you don't expect them to discuss how to compensate, first victims, or you don't expect them to discuss any serious issues over dinner. I think it's time to socialize, to befriend. So I expect them to have good time, good dinners, actually, with nice Japanese sake. So in this case, ambiance is more important than the substance.
I see. So a rather casual in an atmosphere to just, I guess, mingle and just get to know each other as persons and also as leaders, right?
Exactly.
Right. All right. Thank you, Professor. Always appreciate your insight.
Thank you.